Hello, folks. It's Robert Bagley, RB3, and I'm the author of the Kindle #1 best-selling book called Lessons Learned from a Corporate Guy Who Left His Job to Sell on Amazon Full-Time. And I've gone into publishing as another form of internet e-commerce, and I've really enjoyed that. I know a lot of folks in their life say, gee, I should write a book someday. And Amazon, with all the different areas of publishing that they're into, CreateSpace, which is print on demand, obviously Kindle, which is downloadable books, ebooks, and Audible.com, which are audiobooks, it has made it possible for folks like myself and the guest that I have on tonight, Judy Greenlees, to actually get work published. So you don't have to say anymore, I wish I could write a book, or someday I'm going to write a book. I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I'm really honored tonight to interview a special guest and a partner of mine in publishing, Miss Judy Greenlees. So say hi, Judy.
Hi there. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. And now tell us, what part of the world are you from, and where do you live, Judy?
I live on the East Coast in Massachusetts, in a very small town in the north central part of Massachusetts, not surrounded by national forests.
Fantastic. And that sounds like a beautiful place. I'm from upstate New York, and I currently live in the southeast. Right now I'm on the road traveling in Ohio, southern Ohio tonight. Judy and I actually partnered on a project with a newer release for myself and for her called Cherished to the Utmost. It is a Christian fiction novel, and it really was birthed based on the meeting Judy through a website called I guess it's Upwork. It used to be at the time Odesk. Is that right, Judy?
Yes, that's correct. That's absolutely right.
I was looking for a talented writer to help me with this particular project, and Judy and I did a Skype like this, and just started to birth this project. And tonight, when you're watching this, I shouldn't say tonight because you may be watching this at any hour of the day. We're actually recording this tonight, so you'll hear me say that here and there. We're going to talk about the inspiration behind Cherished to the Utmost. We're going to talk about what that book's doing to people that are reading it and how it's impacting their lives. We want to talk about how Judy took some of her own life experiences and helped bring that into the project, along with myself. I mean, we both had inspiration involved. So let's start a little bit with your background, Judy. How did you get started writing? And what are some of the inspirations in your life that got you up to this point to help put your life into some of the storyline?
Well, I've been writing.
I know I just threw two questions at you, so why don't you first start talking about your writing, and then we can talk about the storyline.
Okay. I've been writing for a long time, probably since high school. I've always loved the English language, and I've always loved reading and dabbling with writing, and a lot of people feel that same way too. Now I've lived long enough that when you and I discussed all of the things that we discussed before this book came to be, I realized that there were significant moments in my life that could be incorporated as part of a storyline, and that might be helpful to other people. I've wanted to do it for a long time, and our work together has just made that possible.
Fantastic. So. Yeah. Now, when you talk about the storyline, this story, it's really a Christian romance, if you will, but it also has some very cultural aspects to it, and that it has Celtic Christianity. Talk about the different geographies that are involved in this story, where they take place.
Well, it's pretty fascinating because it takes place in the north of England and in Scotland. And the north of England and that particular area used to be called the Borderlands, and some people still refer to it as the Borderlands or the desert of the north of England. And it's because, first of all, Christianity was brought to Great Britain by Irish folks, Irish monks, to that spot, and it kind of spread out from there. And there were numerous historical battles with people trying to, Vikings came and sacked and pillaged and all of that, all up and down the coast. And it forced Christian people to move away from the coast inland. And it's just an area where Celtic people, meaning people that are of Irish and Scottish and in some cases Welsh and British descent, have looked at as a very, very particular special place for pilgrimage. It's a place of Christian pilgrimage because it was the place where Christianity was brought to the north. And still people today have a tradition of worship that live in that area that is monastic in some regards, and also focusing on what they call the desert of the north, which is parallels, of course, of Christ's journey into desolate spots. And so there's that aspect of it. And then there's also the idea that Celtic Christians really focus on life, like the family and their occupation, and how they worship with a regard for the things that happen in their lives. They're very earthy, and that's fascinating. So,
let's take a path down some character development without giving too much away in the story. And so, as you're explaining this, I'm actually going to pull up a screenshot of the book so you can see a little bit of the cover. So I'd like you to talk about the bed and breakfast that it takes place in, some of the characters that you may want to highlight as we brought them to life in this book. So we're going to do that. So go ahead, walk us through what some of that I just mentioned. And as you're doing that, I'm going to share my screen just to show a quick snippet of the book and what it looks like off the Amazon listing. Okay, so go ahead.
Sure. Well, some of the scenes in the book take place in bed and breakfast, and of course, lots of people love to go to bed and breakfasts. And in that part of the north, there are many. There are a couple, 2 or 3 that I personally was at that inspired some of my thinking about where that bed and breakfast should be located. And some of them are historic homes, like they are here in the United States. And one of them, it was actually converted from, it was a vicarage at one point in time. So it's kind of an combination of those things, of those places dotted across the north and in Scotland.
Great. And here's a picture of the book. Talk about the characters a little bit. We've got Jack and we've got Emma.
Yes, you do have Jack and Emma. Jack and Emma are an interesting couple because they both have ties in the United States as well as in Scotland and England because of their family heritage. And so they're equally comfortable conversing about things in the United States as they would be about things in the UK. And they discover each other, and an interesting life grows out of that discovery of each other.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to unshare my screen, so bear with me, and bring you back. Yeah. Tell me now, the book's been out a couple weeks now, less than a month at the recording of this video interview. How has it been impacting the folks that have been reading it? We've been getting a lot of feedback. Certainly, you could see, as we just shared the screen, we had 4 people share. Everybody's been giving it 5 stars with great reviews. I'd like for you to express how it has impacted some of the folks that you've talked to.
Oh my gosh, it's been pretty amazing because people have told me that they couldn't put it down. They spent all night reading and went to work the next day. I know somebody who recharged her cell phone twice in the day because the computer was on the fritz and she had downloaded it, and she couldn't wait to read all of it. And so then she went and purchased a hard copy because she really just wanted to have one in her hands. That's been kind of an initial response, but some of the more touching responses have been from people who have said to me, oh my gosh, when I read this, it gave me so much hope that life could be better than what most stories depict life to be at the end. Most stories might depict a romance or a life like this, like Jack and Emma had, as being only wonderful if it ended up they were like in a castle and living happily ever after. And of course, something different happens to Jack and Emma, and it's that something different that the people who are reading it now are saying that they love about it. It gives them hope, and they found it much more interesting than other similar stories that they'd read.
Without giving too much away, there's some struggles and tribulations and coming through that, coming out of that, both in life and in marriage, throughout the book. And I think what you're referring to is, maybe somebody that may be in a relationship or in a marriage where, it's not all peaches and cream, and yet the Christian message in this also shows that God cares about that, and that people that call upon the Lord really can expect that He's going to answer them, and maybe not in their time, but bring them through it, give them the strength to get through it, and then really take them out of it from the valley to the mountaintops. And so, any comments around that?
Yes, I think that while you were talking, it reminded me of some other things that we've talked about along the way, and I do believe that that the one impactful message of this book is that regardless of what happens in life, good or bad, that as Christians we are promised that Christ will always be there for us, that God's love is unfailing, and sometimes when we are at our worst, a lot of people are going through a divorce, a lot of people are struggling in their marriages, and it's an unspoken thing because it feels shameful, but there's this truth, this unfailing truth that God is always there for us, and sometimes that unfailing truth comes to us in ways that we least expected. It's shared with us by other Christians, or through our children, or through our elders, and that's part of this story.
Judy, you've come through a lot of adversity in your life. I know that some of it's very personal, but whatever you're willing to share in this interview, I'd love for you to share that with the folks that are watching this, because it certainly has helped with the inspiration of our project. So go ahead. I'll just give you the liberty to talk about maybe some of the adversities that have come your way in your life and how you've gotten through that, and maybe how you've even helped weave that into our project.
Okay, sure. I've never been one to be shy about telling truths, and so this is I have to say that I was a married person for 33 years. I was married to the same person, and I have two wonderful children, grown children. And but that 33-year marriage came to an end, and it wasn't the way that I envisioned that it was going to be, but it happened. And I think that as a result of that, I've looked with compassion and with a different eye and I've learned. There's so many people have come to me and have said, "Oh, I've been through the same thing," or "I've been married 3 times and finally this is the keeper," or whatever the stories are. But there have been many stories that I've heard in the last 10 or 15 years or so. I also had an unexpected cancer, and that was removed surgically, thanks be to God. And I've been given a clean bill of health for the future. And
That's
so
great.
when that happened, I determined that I would live my life differently, and that I would go about pursuing projects like this and telling truth, because it's what we need to do to support each other when things get tough and when things are wonderful.
What can people expect when they read this story?
Oh gosh, I hope that they will love being on an adventure in another country, and that they will be inspired by the scenes of things that Emma and Jack and all the characters see and do there. I hope that they will also have an opportunity to view retreat in a different way than perhaps they may have viewed it before, because of there is that in the story. And I also hope that they would see the fun, that there's fun in life, that there's fun and joy and sadness and troubles. It's all just mixed up together. It's part of what life is. And so I hope that they would experience that, and I hope that they will experience a greater awareness of how God empowers us through the Holy Spirit to be stronger than what we ever thought we could be.
That's a good message. Let's close by talking about how you and I worked on this project, and maybe just some of the collaboration that went on as we've partnered with this, and some of the, I guess, debriefing how that experience went for you.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn. Go ahead. Yeah. I just, because we had some initial conversations,
yeah, sure.
to birth the project, and so just how did that impact you? How did that inspire you to bring forth? Because you've published. I mean, before we met, I mean, you've had some magazines, some high visibility magazines that you've written for. And what are some of those, by the way? Let's give a shout out to some of your articles you've written for which magazines?
Oh, the articles. Yeah, I've written for ehow.com, and it's been translated into ehow Espanol and ehow Brazil, and my articles have been sent to ehow.co.uk, so they're kind of spread around there. Most of those are about my former life as a musician, professional musician and teacher. I have a short story that's published also. It's downloadable through Barnes & Noble and a short story press. So yeah, writing has been a partner of mine in different ways. I have to say that when I first met you and we started the long and intense process of trying to, as you say, birth this book, that the one thing I discovered, which I'm sure that people who know you much better than I, is that you are filled with enormously intense and wonderful ideas. And so And so some of those intense and wonderfully inventive and imaginative ideas and plot twists and wording and you name it, that those things are in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed working with you, and we do play off of each other's strengths very well. And we're actually working on another project. I don't know if you want to. I'm happy to mention it. It's actually something that has birthed from a sermon that I preached going back almost 6 years ago now. So we're slowly working on that, but because we want to really promote Cherished to the utmost, make sure it gets into many people's hands. So Judy and I are working on another project together as a result of this first one. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, but I'll give you the liberty to do so if you'd like.
Well, this is an amazing project, I think. And I think that I like it so much because in the last 22 years or so, the way that I've been worshiping has been a way of worshiping with sturdiness, with a focus on Christ, with a focus on God, our Heavenly Father, and Christ as being strong, and how we as Christians need to be strong. It's wonderful and okay to have the feelings that we do. We all have those feelings inspired by the Holy Spirit and by our own feelings, but we're in a time and a place when we need to be supportive of each other and we need to be sturdy. And so this book, I think, is talking about that and giving some insights about how to live that life of sturdiness that we are increasingly being called to live.
Oh, well said. Well said. Yeah, and the title of it, and we're not sure if this is going to stick, but it's Worship is the Strategy for War. So it's Worship, the Strategy for War. And all the things that come at you in life as a believer in Christianity, which is what this book's based on. So if that's not your faith, then it may or may not be for you, but I think really a lot of people can draw inspiration from it because worship really is the key weapon for our warfare because we are facing a spiritual battle as Christians. Those that are watching this as Christians, you're in a battle, and we really touch on that in this project. And Judy came up with some. Again, this is how we play off of each other, but she came up with a brilliant idea of actually making it I think it's a 4-week study. Not only will it be a book, but it could be. We're hoping that it's going to be a 4-week or 4-module small group study that would take people deeper in their devotional life, and we use biblical experiences like Joshua and the Wall of Jericho, some fun stories that actually are show and exemplify how worship really is the strategy that we need to enter into to get the keys from God, the revelation that will be the very strategy for war. And that's really what happened with Joshua in Joshua chapter 5, which is what this is based off of. He had an insurmountable task of bringing the children of Israel through Jericho, which he had to confront as one of his very first battles. And this is a wall that was supposed to be impenetrable. I liken it to the unsinkableness of the Titanic. And there was no way for that thing to come down. And so, but out of worship, out of his contemplative devotional life, God visited him, the captain of the army of the hosts. I know I'm probably giving some of this away, but just to whet your appetite, he bows down, takes his shoes off, takes his sandals off like Moses did, and this is where he gets his inspiration. This is where he gets his revelation. This is where he gets the strategy for war. And it's very unorthodox. When God gives you a strategy, it's typically not what you would have thought of. And so that's how you know it's God, right? That's what I love about that story. And a lot of people's walls of Jericho come in the form of, broken relationships, addictions, health issues, etc., things we've talked about tonight. And I really, without preaching, which I feel like I'm already doing, it really comes down to what is your heart, the heart of the matter really is the matter of the heart, and God looks at the heart, and when He sees a tender heart that cries out to Him, I cried upon the Lord, and He heard my cry, and He answered my prayers. That's the key, to this whole idea. So real excited about that project. Judy, thanks for being on tonight. Can you tell us how we can find out more about your writing? Where I know you mentioned a couple things tonight, but just let's recap that so other people who want to go and search Judy Greenlees and some of the projects you've got out there besides our Cherished to the Utmost, go ahead and tell them how they can find that.
Well, it's a kind of simple thing to do. The Google search is always a good thing, but the specific places are the I have been an e-zine author. There are numerous articles about how to raise musical children and artistic children. ehow.com has several articles about different things. Local.com through Demand Studios, and also the Short Story Press is where the other book is one of the other books. It's there. So,
okay, there was a little disturbance there, so if you could just encapsulate what you just said again.
Sure. ehow.com, ehow.co.uk, ehow.brazil, ehow Espanol.
How are you spelling that? Is it ehow? Like how is it?
It's a small e and then capital HOW.com. It's kind of like where people go to find out how to do things.
Oh, ehow. Okay, like how do you do it? All right,
like
great.
That.
Well, here's what we'll do. We'll put a link in the description on this video, certainly to the Cherished to the Utmost book, which is what we want to talk about, but we'll also put a link or a couple links to some of those books that you have in the description of this video. So awesome.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Judy, thanks for being on tonight. It's so good to hear some more about your story and to share that with the listeners, the viewers, and the readers. And so thanks for coming on and sharing with us.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, folks. Please like and subscribe to this channel. And thanks for watching this. And please help support our book and some of the other projects we have in the future. And certainly go out and find Judy Greenlees in some of those areas that she mentioned and support her writing if you wouldn't mind. We appreciate that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. RB3 signing off.